So hello guys, my name is Dedan, okay? Africa is a continent bustling with youth, and over 60% of its population is under the age of 25 years. In cities, in villages, and across its vast landscapes, young people are dreaming, innovating, and also pushing boundaries. But while Africa's youth are running towards the future, many of its elders are stuck in the past. Some quite literally, okay? The average age of African presidents continues to shock the world, especially in a time when you're calling for transformation, digital advancement, and also progressive policies. The world has changed. Leadership today demands agility, openness, and also an ability to adapt quickly to global trends. Yet across Africa, several leaders have clung to power for decades. Their grip unwavering despite their growing age, deteriorating health, and also sometimes declining mental capacity. And in many cases, by the way, they have amended constitutions, imprisoned opponents, or manipulated electoral processes just to stay in power. And it raises a hard question: when is time to step aside? Now, this video is not an attack. It is a respectful call for reflection. Age comes with wisdom, no doubt, but leadership is not only about wisdom. It is also about energy, it's about vision, it's about empathy, and the ability to connect with an ever-evolving population. And when a leader's age begins to cloud that connection, then it might be time to hand over the baton. Africa deserves new ideas. Africa deserves young, vibrant leadership. Africa deserves hope. So in this voiceover, in this video, we count down the top 10 oldest African presidents who should retire now. These are men who have served their countries for years. Some for decades. They have seen coups, colonial struggles, and also global shifts. But the world they helped build is not the world they govern today. While we recognize their service, well, they have done a lot, but we also believe their continued presence in power is holding their countries back. So, I want you to stick around until the end as we reveal who tops the first, okay, who tops the list. You may be surprised actually, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Join the conversation because Africa's future is not just political, it's generational. Now let's begin. Number 10, we have Theodoro Obiang Nguema Mbasogo of Equatorial Guinea. This guy has 82 years and he has been in power since 1979. Theodoro Obiang Nguema Mbasogo is currently the world's longest-serving president, and his hold on Equatorial Guinea has lasted for more than 4 decades. He was born in 1942. Obiang came to power in 1979 after deposing his uncle in a violent coup, and since then, he has ruled with an iron fist, surviving attempted coups, international sanctions, and also glowing calls for reform. Obiang's presidency has been characterized by, authoritarian control, suppression of opposition, and allegations of human rights abuses. Critics have accused his regime of rampant corruption, with his family amassing immense wealth while the majority of Equatorial Guineans live in poverty. Oil made the country rich, but the benefits have not, trickled down to the people. Despite being in his 80s, Obiang shows no signs of stepping down. In fact, he was re-elected in 2022 with over 90% of the vote. A number many observers found highly suspicious. His son Theodoro Nguema Obiang Mangwe, nicknamed Theodoro, is already being positioned as his successor, raising fears of a dynastic regime. Obiang's advanced age combined with his decades of power has led to widespread fatigue both locally and also internationally. And many young, Equatorial Guineans have never known another leader. That stagnation is dangerous not just for democracy, but also for development. The future of Equatorial Guinea remains trapped in the hands of a single aging figure. Calls for transition have been met with repression, journalists are jailed, internet access restricted, and also civil society is tightly controlled. These are not signs of a leader preparing to gracefully bow out, but of someone clinging desperately to power. So it is time. Equatorial Guinea deserves a fresh leader, fresh leadership. Obiang has shaped the nation's past, but he should not be allowed to control its future. Number 9, we have Paul Biya of Cameroon. This guy is 91 years. and he has been in power since 1982. Paulo Biya is often referred to as the absentee president due to his long stays abroad, particularly in Switzerland, but in Cameroon, he remains an ever-present force in politics. He was born in 1933. Biya has been in power for over 40 years. His leadership has become a symbol of inertia and also elitism in a country where the majority of people are under 25. Under Biya's rule, Cameroon has endured both political stagnation and also economic decline. While infrastructure has improved in some areas, deep inequality persists. The Anglophone crisis is in the northwest and also northeast regions. This has exposed, serious governance flaws. Thousands have, died and millions have been displaced. Yet Paulo Biya's government has been slow to act. At 91, Paulo Biya is the oldest head of state in Africa. His rare public appearances have raised concerns about his health. Video clips often show him moving slowly with little interaction with the public, and critics argue that the real power is now in the hands of a small elite surrounding the aging leader, creating a shadow form of governance that lacks transparency. Now, Paulo Biya's refusal to appoint a clear successor or engage in open dialogue with the opposition groups has created an atmosphere of uncertainty and also tension. And the country's youth, educated and globally connected, these are growing increasingly frustrated. They demand change, but Paulo Biya remains very silent. Cameroonians have staged multiple protests calling for reforms, but these have been met with brutal crackdowns. The president's advanced age has become a symbol of the nation's political paralysis. His time in power has, outlasted multiple generations. Cameroon deserves a leader who is very present, who is energetic, who is engaged. So Paulo Biya's retirement is not just overdue, it is very essential for national healing and also democratic renewal. On number 8, we have Yoweri Museveni. That's my president, actually. I'm from Uganda and he's the president of Uganda. Okay? Now this man is 80 years and has been in power since 1986. Yoweri Museveni's story is well known in East Africa. Once hailed as a revolutionary leader who helped to restore stability to Uganda after years of turmoil, Museveni has since become one of Africa's longest ruling presidents, now 80 years old, and has been in power for nearly 4 decades. And over the years, Museveni has gradually transformed into the very kind of leader he once opposed. Constitutional term limits were abolished in 2005, and age limits for the presidency were also removed in 2017, clearing the path for him to run indefinitely. And this move was widely criticized as a step backward for democracy in Uganda. Now, the 2021 elections, which pitted Museveni against pop star turned politician Bobi Wine, highlighted the generational gap. While Museveni retained power, it became clear that Uganda's youth, over 70% of the population, are yearning for change. Many see Museveni as out of touch with their struggles, especially in the digital and economic age. Museveni's health and mental sharpness have come under scrutiny. Public addresses are often long, meandering, and out of touch with current realities. Despite this, his grip on power remains firm through military loyalty, patronage, and also crackdown on dissent. Uganda's economy has grown under Museveni, but corruption remains widespread. Infrastructure projects often benefit the elite, while rural communities struggle with basic services. Meanwhile, human rights abuses, including unlawful detentions and also torture of political opponents, have marred his legacy. For Uganda to reach its full potential, it needs leadership that reflects its youthful, dynamic population. Museveni should be remembered for his contributions, but it's time he steps aside for the future to flourish. Now, on number 7, we have Isaias Afwerki. This guy is from Eritrea and he's the president, and he's currently 78 years of age, and he has been in power since 1993. Now, Afwerki has ruled Eritrea since its independence from Ethiopia in 1993, and it makes him the country's first and only president, actually. At 78 years old, Afwerki shows no signs of stepping down, and his reign has been one of the most secretive and also repressive in Africa. Eritrea is often referred to as the North Korea of Africa, and this is largely due to Afweki's total control over the government, media, and also civil society. Afweki came to power as a liberation hero, and he also led the Eritrean People's Liberation Front, EPLF, in a long and bloody war against Ethiopian rule, and his victory was initially celebrated. But however, the optimism quickly faded as his government evolved into a one-man regime. No national elections have been held since independence, and also the constitution has never been implemented. The country operates under a perpetual state of emergency. National service is compulsory and also indefinite, meaning that many Eritreans spend their lives in military service without freedom or proper compensation. And this has led to a mass exodus of Eritrean youth who risk their lives fleeing across the desert and also sea in search of freedom. Afweki rarely makes public addresses, and when he does, his tone is often combative and also submissive of the international community. His advanced age and also rigid mindset have created a stagnant political atmosphere where reform is almost impossible, and critics actually are jailed. Media is state-run, and also civil liberties are also non-existent. Eritrea's economy remains undeveloped despite the country's mineral wealth. Afweki's refusal to open up politically or economically has, stifled growth, and at nearly 80 years, it is unreasonable to expect the agility or innovation needed to move the country forward. And for the sake of Eritrea's future, and to honor the sacrifices made for its independence, Afweki should consider stepping down and also allowing a new generation to lead with fresh ideas and a more democratic spirit. On number 6, we have Alassane Ouattara. He is the president of Ivory Coast and is currently 82 years and has been in power since 2010. Alassane Ouattara first came to power under controversial circumstances following the disputed 2010 presidential election that led to a brief civil war. And after more than a decade in office, the 82-year-old leader is showing signs that this prolonged stay could threaten the stability he once promised to restore. Initially seen as a technocrat and also a reformer, Ouattara was celebrated for reviving Ivory Coast's economy. Under his leadership, the country saw infrastructure growth, foreign investment, and also improved macroeconomic indicators. But however, those gains have not been equally distributed, and political reconciliation remains fragile. In 2020, after the death of his preferred successor, Prime Minister Amadou, Ouattara decided to run for a controversial third term. And this move was seen by many as a betrayal of democratic principles and also sparked protests and also violence, leaving dozens dead and also raising fears of renewed conflict. Critics argue that Ouattara is overstaying his welcome. His age and also the growing perception, the authoritarianism, these are eroding the democratic gains made over the past decade. And several opposition figures have been jailed or exiled, and the political space is also tightening. Ivory Coast is a very young country with a median age of around 19. The youth are increasingly disconnected from the aging elite, who appear more interested in maintaining power than empowering the next generation. Ouattara's continued presence in office delays much needed generational leadership. Though he has contributed significantly to the country's recovery, now is the time for him to step aside and also support a peaceful democratic transition. Retiring would, secure his legacy and also open the door to a more inclusive political future. Number 5, we have Emerson Mnangagwa, president of Zimbabwe. He's now 82 years. He has been in power since 2017. Has been nicknamed the crocodile for his political cunning. Emerson Mnangagwa rose to power after the military coup that ended Robert Mugabe's 37-year rule in Zimbabwe. And at 82 years, Mnangagwa is now repeating many of the authoritarian patterns of his predecessor. Initially, there was optimism. Zimbabweans celebrated the end of Mugabe's reign and hoped for a new era of reform and openness. But Mnangagwa's leadership has been marred by continued human rights abuses, economic stagnation, and also political repression, corruption remains rampant, and unemployment is also soaring. The economy has faced a currency crisis, rising inflation, and also investor fright. Promised reforms have been slow or non-existent, and the government has cracked down on journalists, protesters, and opposition members. Many Zimbabweans feel they merely traded one aging autocrat for another. Mnangagwa's advanced age, coupled with his increasingly autocratic style, this has disillusioned a once hopeful population. His speeches often reference the liberation struggle, which resonates less with young Zimbabweans who are more concerned about jobs, education, and technology. There is also growing concern about succession, like Mugabe. Mnangagwa has not clearly indicated who would take over should he become incapacitated, creating uncertainty and also fear of instability. So at 82 years, it is unlikely that Mnangagwa can offer the long-term vision and energy needed to drive Zimbabwe out of its economic and political challenges. A peaceful democratic transition is urgently needed, and that begins with his retirement right now. I guess maybe that would really give a chance to the youth also lead Zimbabwe. Now, number 4, we have Abdel Fattah ElSissi of Egypt. This guy is 69 years and he has been in power since 2014. Now, though relatively younger than others on this list, Abdel Fattah ElSissi is incredibly authoritarian grip on Egypt, and also his resistance to democratic reform makes him continued leadership controversial. At 69 years, ElSissi has already altered the constitution to extend his rule until at least 2030, raising concerns about the future of democracy in one of the Africa's most influential nations here in Africa. Now, this man, he rose to power after leading a military coup in 2013 that ousted Egypt's first democratically elected president, Mohamed Morsi. And since then, his regime has been marked by crackdowns on dissent, mass incarcerations, and also the suppression of civil liberties. Thousands of political prisoners remain behind bars. Now, while Sisi has invested heavily in infrastructure, including a new administrative capital and also expanded transport networks, these projects have often come at the cost of ballooning national debt, and also have done what we may call, I think, what we may call little, or maybe alleviate poverty for the average Egyptian. Now, critics, they urge that Sisi is out of touch with the frustrations of Egypt's youth. Unemployment remains very high, inflation has hurt household incomes, and the political system offers little room for the new voices. Now, his government has also been accused of using anti-stellar laws to silence critics. While growing dissatisfaction and also social unrest, Egypt risks another wave of instability if the political system remains closed and repressive. A leader approaching 70, ruling with an iron fist, is not what Egypt needs to navigate the complexities of the 21st century. Sisi has had his time, Egypt would benefit from more inclusive governance and also a transition that allows younger, more progressive leaders to emerge. Number 3, we have Azal Osman for Comoros. This guy is 66 years, and he has been in power since 1999. Since 1999, Azal Osman has been a dominant political figure in Comoros for decades. Though younger than others on the list at 66, his long and controversial rule raises questions about democratic health in the small island nation. He first seized power in a coup in 1999, and he was elected in 2002, and also returned again in 2016. Osman has been criticized for manipulating the constitution to extend his rule. In 2018, he organized a controversial referendum that removed the term limits and also allowed him to stay in power until 2029. Opposition parties boycotted the process, and many Comorans saw it as a step backward. The Comoros has struggled with political instability and also, for decades, and Osman's continued presence has not helped matters. While the country has seen some infrastructure improvement, poverty remains widespread, and also many citizens feel excluded from political processes. Osman's leadership style is increasingly authoritarian. Opposition leaders have been arrested, and also protests are often met with force. His administration has also been accused of mismanaging resources and also failing to provide essential services. At 66 years, Osman still has the capacity to lead, but his entrenchment in power for over 20 years suggests a reluctance to foster new leadership. The true legacy is built not just by staying in power, but by preparing others to take over. Okay? If Osman truly cares about his country's future, he should begin preparing for a peaceful, democratic transition. His exit could set a precedent for the region and also bring new energy to Comoros politics. Number 2, we have Denis Nguesso of the Republic of Congo. Now, this guy is 81 years and has been in power since 1979, except 1992 to 1997. Now, Denis Nguesso has ruled the Democratic Republic of Congo for most of the last 4 decades. At 81, he remains a central figure in Congolese politics, using military strength and also constitutional manipulation to maintain power. So Nguesso's rule has been marked by allegations of corruption, nepotism, and also human rights abuses. Despite the country's oil wealth, much of the population lives in poverty, and also infrastructure outside urban centers is severely, lacking. In 2015, he organized a controversial constitutional referendum that removed age and also term limits, allowing him to run for a 3rd consecutive term in 2016. The process was widely criticized as undemocratic. His son, Denis Nguesso, has also been positioned for leadership, raising concerns about dynastic politics. Many fear that the presidency is, becoming a family business rather than a democratic institution. Congo's youth face high unemployment and lack of access to quality education. The political climate remains tense, and opposition parties have little room to operate. So Nguesso's continued rule is seen by many as a barrier to progress. And at 81 years, it's time for Nguesso to retire and also allows for genuine democratic processes to take root. Congo deserves fresh leadership focused on the future, not the past. Now, number 1, we have Mohamed Al-Menfi, Libya. Is the chairman of the Presidential Council. He's now 81 years and has been in office since 2021. Though Libya does not currently have a single president in the traditional sense, Mohamed Al-Menfi serves as the chairman of the, Presidential Council of Libya, which acts as a collective head, of state under the UN-backed government of national unity. At 81 years old, Al-Menfi is one of the oldest active African leaders and also plays a crucial role in Libya's fragile political transition. Al-Menfi came to power in March 2021 through a UN-sponsored peace process, aiming to unify Libya's warring factions and also prepare for national elections. However, those elections have been repeatedly delayed, and the political, gridlock has left the country in a prolonged state of limbo, with multiple power centers and also, no clear way forward. Al-Menfi's leadership has faced criticism for its inability to deliver on promised reforms. Many Libyans, feel disillusioned as corruption, security concerns, and also lack of services continue to affect daily life. The country remains divided between rival Eastern and also Western governments, and foreign interference further complicates peace efforts. At 81 years, Mohamed Al-Menfi represents a generation of leaders tied to Libya's post-Gaddafi era of chaos. Critics argue that younger, reform-reminded leaders are also needed to help rebuild Libya's institutions, foster unity, and also bring about real democratic change. While he has been seen as a stabilizing figure in some diplomatic circles, his prolonged stay in power without delivering elections casts about on the sincerity of the transitional government's mission. It is time for Libya to move forward, and that means encouraging leadership turnover at the top. If Al-Menfi were to step aside and support true democratic elections, it could set an example for the region and also allow Libya to finally begin healing for a decade of conflict and also instability. And there you have it, a journey through the corridors of power across Africa, where age, experience, and legacy collide with the urgent demands of a younger, restless generation. Now, these men have shaped the histories of their nations, some through liberation struggles, others through military coups or political, maneuvering. But the one truth that echoes louder than ever is this: leadership is not meant to last forever. Africa is a continent of youth, Over 60% of its population is under the age of 25, and these young minds are eager for change, innovation, transparency, and also freedom. And yet, they remain governed by leaders who came to power decades ago. Many long before today's generation was even born. That disconnect is not just political. It is generational, ideological, and also spiritual. Retirement is not a defeat. It can be a powerful statement of humility and patriotism. So stepping aside with dignity allows the democratic process to thrive and also gives room for fresh ideas, modern leadership, and also a reimagined future. When leaders hold on too long, they risk becoming the very obstacle they once rose to overcome. So to every viewer watching, if you watch this video, the future of Africa depends on how bravely we comfort, like it is present, Let this be more than a countdown. Let it be a conversation starter, right? Whether you're in Kampala, you're in Kinshasa, you're in Accra, you're in Abidjan, your voice matters. Demand accountability, demand renewal, demand a leadership that looks like you, listens to you, and also works for you. If you found this video thought-provoking, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe for more powerful African stories, and also share with someone who needs to hear it, okay? Until next time, this is Dedan, signing off from Dedan Vlogs, where we speak the truth, we celebrate Africa, and we always keep watching, even when no one else is.